What's up guys, this is Al, and in today's episode we're going to be talking about how to water your plants right after the winter. Right now is a transitional period where people are still stuck on winter watering, but the temperatures are going up every single day, and guess what? Your plants don't care if it's winter, summer, fall, they don't care. What they care about is the ambient temperatures around them. And if you don't water your plants, that's a sure way to actually kill them. So let's say you have plants in containers like I do here. So how do you know when to water your plants? How often, how long do you water your plants? Well, check this out. Follow my 50% rule. Very easy to follow, and it doesn't matter what time of the year it is. As long as you do this, you will know every time how often to water your plants. So what is the 50% rule? That is, you water as often as this container dries 50%. So the easiest way to check this is you get your finger, you stick it in the container all the way down up to about halfway through the container, and the minute you no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger, that is exactly how often you water this plant. It's that simple. You do that in the spring, you do that in the summer, you do that in the winter time. Plants sweat for the same reasons you do. So the hotter the environment around your plant, the more your plant is going to sweat, the faster the soil will dry out, the sooner that 50% will happen. Right now, this is a Shangri-La mulberry right here. I got some Pakistan mulberries over there. And these guys right now, they're drying out 50% once a day. My daily day temperatures right now are in the 80s. As the temperatures get hotter, instead of once a day, that's gonna turn into twice a day. And that is how often you water these plants. The 50% rule is an easy way to actually check your plants and know exactly how often to water them. That 50% rule works on all my plants. It doesn't matter if they are in a 3-gallon container, in a 5-gallon container, or even 25-gallon containers. You can still check with your finger halfway down the container, give or take a few inches, and see how long that's taking to dry 50%. So if you have plants in containers, you can go ahead and follow that rule, and it doesn't really matter what time of the year you're checking, that will always give you the answer. One thing you have to understand about gardening is it's not really that difficult. It's very simple. But one thing that nobody can tell you out there is how often to water your plants. If you talk to somebody online or somebody that does not know your plant in particular, they don't know the environment around the plant, and that person is telling you exactly how often to water your plants and how long to water them, I would not listen to that person, because that's just like telling you how often and how much water to drink every single day for the rest of your life. It just doesn't work like that. Plants will react to the ambient temperatures around them, not what somebody tells you online and not what a textbook tells you. So that was container watering. So what about plants in the ground? Well, the principle is almost the same, but it depends on the type of root system of your plant and how long your plant has been in the ground. So right here I have some flowers, I have some Grand Duke jasmine right there. I got all kinds of little plants in here that have very fibrous shallow roots. So how do you water these plants? Well, it's the same principle as the 50% rule, but instead of actually following a 50% rule, you're using your finger. I call this one the finger method, especially when you're actually checking the soil. And the way this one works, you're gonna go to your plant close by, a few inches away, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna dig under the mulch. Very important. Under the mulch you're gonna dig, and you're gonna stick your finger in there all the way down. Even if you need to get a stick and dig in there like this one right here, because sometimes the ground is gonna be hard, just dig and see how far down the soil is dry. As far down as your finger reaches for shallow rooted plants. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna wait until, like in the container, you no longer feel moisture on the tip of your finger. And however often that happens, that's how often you water these plants over here that have shallow roots, which usually you're going to be able to reach down about 6 inches roughly. So these plants right here, they're getting watered daily, because daily this soil here is drying out about that much. So that is for small plants. What if you have a raised garden like this one right here? We just started some vegetables right here. So how do you water these plants right here? Well, this right here is just a bigger container. And this is an area right here, you're still gonna follow the 50% rule. Stick your finger down there. However often it takes to dry, roughly about 50%, that's how often you water those plants. But you need to be careful, because if you just plant something in there, the 15% rule is not gonna be that accurate. At that point, what you need to do is you need to check your plant individually. Like right next to the trunk of your plant, you need to dig in there very gently and check the soil. Because a new plant in this bed right here is not going to have any roots all the way around here or down below. It's going to be all right there in the little root ball. So if you have a little plant like this, always check right where the root ball is. And most likely those plants are going to require daily watering, if not several times a day. At that point, you can check the root ball right there with your finger, or you can look at the plant. If it looks healthy like this, the leaves are not wilted, you're good to go. Now, if you really love your plants, you can watch that plant every single hour during daytime when it's hot. And the minute your leaves start turning down or wilting, go back 1 to 2 hours, and that's exactly how often you're gonna water your plants.
But Alan, that is too complicated.
A lot of you guys complicate things. This is very easy to do. If the soil is wetter than it needs to be, it's no big deal. Overwatering takes months, if not years, to actually damage your plants. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen because you kept the soil wet for a couple of days, even a few weeks, especially with plants that have shallow fibrous roots. Don't worry about it. If you have different plants that have fibrous, shallow roots, and every single plant is drying like roughly 40–50% once or twice daily, but one plant over there is actually taking a little longer to dry 50%, don't worry about it. Just water the whole bed twice a day, because most of those plants in that bed are drying out twice daily. Overwatering takes a very long time to actually damage your plants. And one of the key requirements to overwater your plant is no drainage. If you water your plants and the water pools on the bottom of that container, or the water just sits in here and it does not drain, and you water like that every single day, and that is wet 24/7, soaking wet, then overwatering will happen. Usually the first thing that you're gonna see is trunk rot. But that takes such a long time, and to be honest, I have never experienced that once my plants go in the ground. So let's say you got bigger plants like this. How often do you water those plants? Well, this is a guava right here. It has shallow fibrous roots. If you want to learn more about growing guavas, I got a video where I talk specifically about growing your own guavas. But this plant right here, last summer, I was watering 2 hours every single day, because I noticed my leaves were wilting if I didn't give it 2 hours every single day. And in those 2 hours, this plant right here, actually, I switched out to some sprayers in here because I have a lot of little herbs and stuff in here that I want water as well. So this guava right here gets 52 gallons of water every single day during the summer. Obviously, it's not the summer right now. So how often is it getting watered? Right now, this plant is getting water once a day for 1 hour. And in that 1 hour, it's getting 26 gallons of water. Am I being too accurate? Do you have to give your plant specifically that many gallons of water every single day around this time of the year because I'm giving my plant that much water? No, it's not, guys. It's just, I'm guessing. Once your plants are actually in the ground like this and they're big, as long as you give them some water every once in a while, you don't let them fully dry, you're good to go. As the temperatures get hotter and you start sweating, then obviously this plant right here is going to require more water, because obviously it's going to sweat more and the soil will dry out a lot faster. Now let's say you got bigger plants like this jamun in here. So this one here has a taproot system and the roots go several feet into the soil. So how do you water this plant? Well, just like the guava, I guess. You know, I want the soil to get wet at least, for this plant that's been in the ground for a few years, at least minimum 5 feet below ground every single time that I water. But since this plant right here has a taproot system, it does not require that much water every single day, because it can go a lot longer without water compared to my shallow rooted plant over here, simply because it has a taproot system, and this one right here has a shallow root system. So how often am I watering this plant right here? So this one right here has 2 4-gallon-an-hour emitters in there. So in 1 hour, it gets 8 gallons of water. So simply because my citrus, smaller citrus are on this same line right here in my irrigation system, Right now, with the temperatures in my area the way they are, this plant right here is getting water for 8 hours every 5 days. And so far the plant is growing just fine, no issues at all. And remember, I'm guessing, but I'm being consistent. I'm not just watering because I feel like it, or something happened and somebody told me, or just because yesterday was hot and today is cold, or vice versa. I'm being consistent. The temperatures are rising every single day now, and as the temperatures get hotter, you're gonna have to water this plant longer. And it also depends on how long the plant has been in the ground. It is citrus season right now. They're flowering, and right now is when people are buying citrus left and right, simply because the flowers are opening up, they smell really good, and people just seem to like to buy stuff that have flowers. But a lot of people are having issues watering these plants. So let's talk about plants that actually are flowering right now. Can you let them dry? Do you have to water more often? What's the deal? Well, I can tell you, if that container goes fully dry and this plant wilts in here, most of those flowers will fall off immediately. And just like that, you just lost your crop for next year. So when your plants are flowering, my recommendation for you is you need to water your plant. Do not let it go dry. Keeping it wet just for a few weeks, especially as the temperatures are going up, it's not going to kill your plant. Especially if you really want those flowers to actually set and you want fruits later this year or the following year. Some plants take a long time to actually ripen their fruit. Like this sapodilla, sapote chico chiku. This one right here is a big plant, easily over 10 years old. But this one flowers heavily every single year. And this is one of the plants that people complain the most. They don't have any fruits. They don't get any fruits. Well, we live in the desert. I am in Arizona. Our temperatures in our area are not consistent. They go up, they go down. And that can happen just day and night. And plants like this sapodilla right here, they need consistent temperatures. And also, they definitely need the soil to stay on the wetter side, especially when they are flowering. If this plant goes semi-dry in the summer, it doesn't even have to wilt, just semi-dry. And the wind blows and it's super hot, guess what just happened? You just lost your crop for next year. Because this fruit right here takes 1 year to ripen the fruit. So you need consistent watering. I would say the main killer of plants in my area are people who water their plants by hand. I don't care if you think you're a master gardener. I don't care if you went to college for 1,000,000 years and you got 10 PhDs in plant growing. You're not gonna be consistent. I promise you. You're not gonna be as consistent as an automatic drip system. This drip system right here comes on a timer every single day. It doesn't have to rely on me. It just works. There's no way you're gonna be more consistent than an automatic irrigation system. So if you're having issues getting fruits, getting your plants to grow, or something is going on with your plants and you're just having a hard time, I would say easily over 90% of the issues are hand watering. Automate your system, and I promise you, I would easily over 90% of your plants problems are gonna go away. A lot of people ask me what's my secret, what's my magic juice, magic fertilizer that I use to grow my plants and get fruits and all that stuff. And I always tell them, water. But I can tell you, I used to hand water back in the day, and it took me over 6 hours every single day to water my plants, and even then my plants suffered. They looked terrible. I killed a lot of them, and until I actually got an automatic drip system, it was terrible, guys. But once I actually got an automatic drip system, it changed my life. And my plants look amazing, even if I don't do anything else to them. So that's it. That's how you water, guys. Hopefully, if you had any questions about watering your plants, I answered some of them. If not, you can comment below. Or if you want more one-on-one help or more in-depth help, join my Patreon. I answer all the questions there 100% of the time. As always, guys, don't forget to like the video if you haven't liked it. And if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? I will see you next time.